back. Lynette, would you like to just go through the differences of what you nicely had and what we've got at the moment?
Yeah. So, this. Thank you. So, in a nutshell, there's two main differences. One is to effectively retain the whole program, subject to the funding agreements coming through. So that's to put Westmoreland and the whole of the bus stop program back in, and say we're going to do it, but it is still subject to funding agreements.
So sorry, is that the government have asked us to chop 10%, but we're in essence not listening to them putting a whole lot on it. We'll
do the whole thing, but
okay.
which results in us having to, if we get the funding, it will be about a 75-25% split as opposed to a 90-10 split for the funding. So we will fund more of it, but we will still get the original amount that they were talking.
Okay.
Minus the 10%.
Right.
And the net.
And the second part of this is to start at risk now with Linwood Village. We would need to come back and confirm what would be the substitution, but that is effectively starting for Linwood Village now. Starting the construction.
Starting construction when we haven't got the money.
At risk, yes. So that's starting Linwood Village at risk when we haven't had the guaranteed subsidy.
Okay. I would like to foreshadow the staff's, if this fails, the staff's one, because I'm more than happy with the staff's one. Thank you.
Second it.
Thank you. Okay, shall we go on from here? We've done enough talking, I think.
Can we highlight this? No, I did as well. Oh, the Te Aratai is also added.
So there's been an addition of Te Aratai into the Linwood Village at risk. So let's clear the confusion again. The second one is to start Te Aratai and Linwood Village straight away. We would be able to start the construction of Linwood Village straight away because we are at that point and ready to get going. Te Aratai would be getting on with the detailed design.
And so if that's fine, if that's decided, that's what happens. And if we don't get the funding, who pays for it? We do.
To pay for it because we are doing it at council's risk. So you're making the choice to do it at council's risk.
So we're going ahead and doing it without funding if that we decide it. Okay.
Te Aratai is already part CREF funded though, so we wouldn't have no funding.
That's not, that would need to be cleared up because we've only had the information about Te Aratai 5 minutes ago. So we would have to be absolutely clear on exactly what was funded and what wasn't, and that's what we would have to report back to you on at F&P, and that's what we would be.
So just to be crystal clear, we are not going into this with eyes shut. There is a process by which you would come back and articulate really clearly where the funding would come from.
Yep.
And it would also be a question as part of the LTP in order to ensure that if you're making the decision today, you're really clear that this is not unfunded.
That it's not funded.
That it is funded through.
Yes. So you make a decision today, we would have to come back and agree where that is funded from as part of that report.
Okay.
For the F&P.
I'm going to put the motion, which is Jake's one, which is up there. Yes.
I've got debate.
Pardon me? Now going into debate.
Yeah.
Can do. Yeah, that'll be another hour. Carry on. Who's first?
Well, post-democracy.
Yeah, I'll go first then. Look, today I'm substantively moving that we progress with the Linwood Village project, not because it's more worthy than any other CERF project, but simply because it fits in a slightly different situation. That situation is it was already in the current financial year of our annual plan, and also it's further progressed than some other projects. So the contract is already in place. We could essentially proceed tomorrow on this project. Really what we've done here is we've taken this project out of our annual plan, put it into the CERF project to get some money from other sourcing, which is great. But if something were to happen to that CERF money, this becomes an unintended budget deferral and actually a complete cut inadvertently. A bit of history on this project. As I say, it's not more worthy, but it certainly is worthy. You know, this is a project to completely transform one of the lowest socio-economic areas of Christchurch, an area that was hit really hard after the earthquake and was promised a brighter future in the form of a master plan post-earthquake. The former council pushed that back to 2026, and we brought it forward to in the 2019-2020 annual plan. Now, it's already been delayed because of COVID, and I think that any further delay, given that we went out and consulted well over a year ago now, and the project is ready to go and part funded in our annual plan, would be a real shame. You know, there's a real cynicism actually in this area when you talk to people and you say, hey, look, you know, we've got this great project on the way. It's going to really transform this space that is looking, I don't know if many of you have been down there, pretty dowdy. We've got this great project that's going to really enhance this area. People go, oh, yeah, sure. But, you know, we've heard that before. Council always change their plans and never really deliver. You know, we'll be the last cab off the rank for any money being put into this area. And I think that I want to really address that cynicism and say, actually, that hasn't been the case. We won't do that, and we will follow through and deliver on a promise that we have made twice. So with that, I'm happy to put the motion forward and just say let's get on with it. Contractors are in place, materials are being stored on site, and the community are expecting us to deliver.
Okey-dokey. Councillor Templeton.
I'm happy to vote for this today. It's not ideal, but the reason it's not ideal is not us. It's Wakako Tahi putting a pause on the funding. They're the ones who put these really tight time constraints on us to start with to make sure that we were getting everything moving as quickly as possible. We've raised expectations for many projects here, but the two I think that need doing the most are the Linwood Village streetscape, and I remember joining the community board as chair in 2013, and the earthquake impacts were still being felt hugely in the area, and still are, because we haven't done the work that we promised as a council that we would do. If we're wanting to create walkable neighbourhoods with viable small shopping centres in an area that has the lowest car ownership in the city, then we need to help that area attract more small businesses and to give them confidence to invest in that area. The Te Aratai cycle connection is crucial, and when I was chairing the community board, that school were coming to us saying, please help with our safety on this road, and they were saying it back then and they're still saying it now. It is not always the case that we get a school in support of a cycleway right outside. There are often concerns about parking, a range of things. This is a school that really, really wants this. They have had kids hit and knocked off their bikes. We've had kids in hospital. I've got contact by parents who want to be able to send their kids from the areas that are now zoned in Opawa and Hillsborough, who want their kids to be able to bike. But it's not currently safe. Albans Road is just appalling. So being able to connect the school to the two major cycle routes is crucial. Funding-wise, it was a board priority when we went through the CRAF funding. Still beggars belief that the CRAF funding hasn't been spent, but I mean, we know why. It's just delays after delays, and it's been a board priority through that because the school and parents were approaching us asking for it to be. So this one really needs doing regardless, and that's why I'm really happy that it is in here. If we care about safety, if we care about kids being able to get to school independently and safely, and parents not having to feel like they have to drive, then we need to do this project. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Coker, please.
Yes, as Councillor Templeton said, it's very frustrating that we're here. We've already been obviously through the hearings process, and it was not long after that in the evening that we found out about the decrease in funding and the increase in time allowed for these projects. But of course, everything's actually quite up in the air. I will obviously be supporting, because I've seconded this, for Linwood Village and Te Aratai to go ahead, independent of funding. I wanted to comment on Simeon Street, because it is actually something that's concerning our board quite a lot, so I'm not completely happy with the recommendations for Simeon Street, but I do recognise there will be changes that happen when the bridge across Braham Street is put in there, so this is going to be better than nothing in the meantime. And then regarding Westmoreland, I'm very much in favour of going ahead with this now. Now, I'll remind you that this cycleway is between the boundary of Spraden Ward and Cashmere Ward. It is in the community board plan. To not support it is going against the community board, and what's the point of community board plans unless we actually listen to them? There's the argument around the early learning centre, which I talked about before. People should be able to bike with their kids to preschool and school anywhere. So I discount that argument completely. And this does not preclude traffic lights at Penruddock Rise at that T intersection. We heard this during the hearing, so there is no issue, in my opinion, with that. Now, if this ends up not being funded, I want to discuss this in the LTP. I don't want to lose these projects completely, because it does read like that a little bit with I think we changed the wording though, didn't we? So in number 6, I can't remember what we wrote. But anyway, whatever happens, we need to discuss this and not lose these projects. They're really important. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff obviously that we do is really important, but I really believe in this. And cycling is, we want people to be safe when they're cycling and to have transport choices. And so that's the whole point of this.
Councillor Cotter, Len Scandrick.
Look, yeah, look, I'll support this, because I think that this is ready to go. Linwood Village is ready to go, and I think that we've got to keep things moving. We've got to keep the pipeline flowing, pipeline of work flowing. Reputational damage for us is quite a risk is high, even though this is not of our doing. So I'm really supportive of keeping going. I think that we will find the funding, and even though these projects were brought forward because, as Aaron says, Councillor Curran says, because of this attraction of extra funding, it is what it is now. The work has been done. The consultation has been done in 2 days worth of hearings in here, hearing deputations. There was great community interest. So I think, in respect to the people that have come in and spoken their mind, to the decision that's already been made, I think that we keep going. So I'll be supporting this today.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Coke is absolutely right. The safe travel is an absolute priority for our community board, and there's no question that I support that fully. But if you look at this, the stakeholder raised issues with regards to the fundamentals. And when we talk about stakeholders, that could be anybody. But let's talk about the immediate community. It was also the lowest level of support of any of these projects. And there's a reason for that. Because there was concern with that community about the design. It has been, we had to push this through quickly for Wakakatahi, not our communities. So that's also something to think about. If you look at the stretch of road, the biggest concern for this community, which I've been talking to, is the bridge over the Cashmere Stream, the Cashmere Road Bridge, and the area between Fernleyhurst Bridge and the Hoonhay lights. We can slow the speeds. We can do a whole lot of things in this area, working with staff for low cost, that will make this area safer. At the other end of this, if you look at this, I think that it's already pointed out that the plan for this stretch is significantly higher cost than originally thought, and it's over and above that, there is a risk of the drainage being of a higher financial and timing-wise impact. So even before we've opened anything with regards to this stretch, it's over budget. When we're talking about a whole issue with regards to budget, if we look at this with the future lens from Sparks Road right through to past the Hoonhay Lights to wherever cycle lanes need to go, we could look at future planning for a wider footpaths right through. We could have a better cycle lane on one side. We can actually plan, it would cost more, but at the moment, what are we going to do? We're going to spend millions of dollars in government, that's okay, even though it's that tax money and we've got to be responsible, for something that might be changed in 10 years. So I just cannot support this. I want to support the other areas that have been totally agreed to with their communities, but there's just a gap here and I'm not comfortable with it, so I'll be supporting the staff recommendation.
Councillor Kewen, please.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for the debate, everyone. I would urge everyone to just stick with the staff recommendation here, and I realise that some say that this is about safety, and if you believe in safety, you'll be voting for the amendment, but I want to argue the opposite. If you believe in safety, you wouldn't vote for the amendment. You'd be supporting the projects that have already been put in our council's plans years ahead of these ones. These ones are leapfrogged because of the 90% funding. They're not there because they are the most important safety issues. And kids going to Te Aratai or down Cashmere Road already have a road and a footpath they can walk or bike on. Projects like the Gardeners Road shared path has no path. The kids are forced to walk on the white line on the side of the road through winter, where it's quite dark, can be quite foggy, and on a 60k an hour road, the same with Radcliffe Road. So to not put in those paths and have these other projects leapfrog, you cannot use safety as your argument because it just makes it a farce. And so I urge everyone who actually believes in safety to vote for the staff recommendations, and hopefully this is the end of the rubbish coming through from Waka Kotahi, constantly making our poor staff have to jump around all over the place to play their game, and we get some clearer direction out of Waka Kotahi going forward. So when we make plans as communities, we can actually stick to them. And the one on Gardeners Road, just so everyone knows, when I originally moved that, it was seconded by RAF. So that tells you how long ago that was. So that's an entire generation of kids that couldn't walk or bike to school because it is actually unsafe to do so. And when you claim there's a climate emergency, you don't believe that because otherwise you would have delivered that path for those kids to walk to those schools because there's a lot of them and they've been asking for it for years. So let's put our money where our mouth is and vote the same way.
Thank you, Aaron. Councillor Kewen. Have we got anything else? It's one, Councillor Johansson.
Yeah, thank you. I think that this has just been such a Mickey Mouse process, right? Like the fact that a few hours after we made the decisions, and we rushed the decisions through because of the timeframes that Waka Kotahi had put on, we get told we've got an extension of time to allow more time to engage. I tried to get council to do more engagement, and that wasn't agreed to. But it's really clear to me that for the concerns that people have said that exist over Cashmere Road, there are equally the similar concerns around the Te Aratai cycleway connection. And it's not a case of not wanting a cycleway, and I didn't hear that from the Cashmere Road deputations either. It's simply a case of the community wanting input into the design because they have what I think are fairly legitimate and valid concerns about some of the aspects of the design that we're then told that Waka Kotahi is the one that approves the design, not us as a city council, and it's deeply unfair to those local communities. The fact that we had a closed briefing last 2 weeks ago on these projects, and yet it wasn't open. There's no notes from that, and then the day after that closed briefing, we get a report to consider the bus stops with submitters coming in, sitting in front of us, asking what the benefit was, what the cost benefit analysis was, and us having no ability to share the information that we had around these projects being cut in funding and delayed, I just think is completely unacceptable. So, I think what we should do is actually wait to get the clarity from government over what's happening with the funding, and then we can have a holistic conversation about what we choose to do. I'm deeply concerned about choosing projects to go ahead now without that bigger conversation with knowing what our picture is. For example, some of the engagement, and I know our staff worked really hard to engage as best as they could in the short timeframes. But if you take the Te Aratai one, the fact that users of Linwood Park, where we just built a new sports field where the temporary village used to be, have not been engaged in the design is a huge red flag for me, right? There's things that we could do to redesign the scope of those projects that would reduce the budget to keep it within the budget and within the budget reduction that would still be relatively safe and that would get improvements that would meet the objectives that we're trying to achieve. And yet we're being told we can't do that. So the one project that I will support, because it was already on the council budget in terms of a commitment to the community, is that Linwood Village one. So I completely understand that that's a project that we were have been ambitious about getting the additional funding because of the shortfall after we'd approved the design, and I'm happy to support that one going forward. But as for the rest, there's a lot of them that I do like, but I think we should wait to get clarity from government before we proceed with any, including the prioritisation of the bus stops.
I don't know how you do it. You get right down to the last second. You're very good. Councillor Harrison Hunt, please. No, good.
I think everybody knows by now that my real shtick is talking about safety around schools. And for me, I'd find it quite ironic that there is a ward councillor, and it's going to be a hell of a headline, ward councillor wants to make cycle lanes less safe for school kids to save some money. That, to me, is something just absolutely crazy. And if we're looking at that, we're looking at driver behaviours on the east, of which I've used for 20 years going to Cal Stadium. They are not good, and I'd love to see the statistics from the transport unit talking about the speeding drivers all across the east. Now, this is not just the east. It's not the east who are doing this too. It's a highly transient area, and Councillor Hanson talked about asking about the Linwood Park users who are transients and therefore aren't regular users of Te Aratai and needing to go from one residential to another. That there is actually good consultation. Asking the school kids how they feel. How safe do they feel driving on or going on bikes and walking along those footpaths? Particularly that premise of having shared paths is something that also I find quite confronting when we're on a main route. Now, using shared paths provides many risks, and that's backing out cars that are backing out. It's also other users of that footpath, e-scooters, scooters, cyclists and walkers, all on the same route. So for me, I don't agree with that. Now, if we're talking about and picking apart the government mandate on all of these projects and saying these guys have got too many regulations, there is no politicism in this because those experts are the ones telling us what we need to be doing. Now, there are councils from all over the city, actually from all over the country, apologies, who want to just put some painted white lines on and therefore deem it safe. That is the reason why the government has put in these mandates, to ensure that the whole country is safe for our kids, for our younger generations, and also for all of the vulnerable users on our roads. So I'm quite okay with the government putting in these safety measures, and I'm okay with obliging by them. Because, to be honest, all of us governors, all across the country, can have differing views, but if there is a majority who deem that white lines are safe for our users, that is where we're going wrong. Killed him.
Right. Anyone else? Me. Right. There's no doubt that this was rushed. I felt very sorry for staff. They worked their guts out when the government came along and said, we want to give you some money. From what I understand, we put forward roughly $34 million worth of proposals, and the government said our applications were so good, they gave us a lot. Then, sadly, in my mind, we had to give $7 million back because, as Transport said, we couldn't possibly do it in the time that the government was saying. Then we did all this work with Tessa and all the group, and then 3.5 minutes after we finished the consultation and submissions, the government swiped 50 million out of it. It scares me that there's an outside chunk. Oh, sorry, the last government funded it, and you'd like to say thanks very much for that. But in general, there could be little or no funding for this going forward. The last thing I want to do is, it scares me that we might bore into something and have to pick up the slack or start something like Buckley's Road, which when we haven't actually got the funding secured. And, we talk about the risk. So I think we should just go with the staff recommendation. It's good. It gets us in the tent. It does what Waka Kotahi want us to do. And let's just see where the money falls going forward. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a division on Councillor McLennan's motion. Councillor Keown? Councillor
No.
Keown?
No.
Councillor McLennan? Councillor MacDonald?
No.
Councillor Henstock?
No.
Councillor Moore?
Abstain.
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 Councillor Scandrett?
No.
Councillor Harrison Hunt?
Yes.
Councillor Coker? Yes. Councillor Peters?
No.
The Mayor? No. Councillor Templeton?
Aye.
Councillor Barber?
No.
Deputy Mayor Cotter? Yes. Councillor Fields? Don't believe his consent. Councillor Johansson?
Yes for 4, abstain on the rest.
Councillor Donovan?
Yes.
And Councillor Goff is not here either.
I think it'd be no if that helps.
I'm just working out Councillor Johansson's. So the yeses are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, including for number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 noes, and 2 abstentions for everything but number 4.
Okay, so that's failed. So now the substantive, which is the staff recommendation. I'd like to put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against?
It's not a substantive, it was a foreshadowed motion, so you need a difference.
It's been moved and seconded by the Mayor and Tab.
Thank you.
Can you just be clear? Is that including the Linwood Village one now? It's hard because we don't have all the...
Question? It's just
So
staff
4 was
recommendation. Put it forward. See where the money falls when it falls out of the sky. Hopefully.
Yeah. So with the staff recommendation, you just scroll to the top. The only changes were to number 2H, where we've just removed a sentence there for clarification. If you keep scrolling. And we've changed number 6, so it reads the same as the previous one, that it will be reviewed as part of the LTP if funding agreements aren't given.
Okay. Right, so it's carried. Thank you very much.
Have they voted?
Hey, we did.
Yeah.
Did we vote?
No.
The excitement of the day. All those in favour? No, yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yeah.
We did before it was clarified.
Yeah. Don't confuse me anymore.
Well, do we do it just in case?
Right, we're now moving on to item 5.